even though it's not particularly somehow relevant. Although, yeah, it is entirely somehow relevant. Any belief system or so-called power, by that I mean is there a God? Is there a higher being? Is there a bigger power? Oh, governments say we have to do this, and apparently we have free choice because obviously we get to vote and decide who's in power. If you choose to buy into that brainwash system, at the end of the day, they do what they're told by people with far more power. It just gives you the illusion of choice. And the illusion of choice gives people the illusion of freedom and the illusion of control. Which is actually what we do with stage hypnosis. We give them the illusion of choice, the illusion of control, where really the only choice we've got is whether to volunteer or not. And if they make that choice, they're doing it for one of the many reasons that we spoke about earlier, so I'm not going to recap on that. You can always look at the DVDs for the triggers. Why would they be motivated to do that? Is there a God? Oh God. Now you're thinking, oh shit, it's not quite even. Not two of my events are ever the same. And by all means, if you want to prove that to yourself by buying DVDs, because I like them and so does my daughter. But I will tell you honestly up front though, that the underlying message in all of them, however it's explained or taught, is the same. And because of that, that's why I'll say to you, you don't need to, because the DVDs you've got tell you everything you need to know. But please, by all means, it helps pay for private nursery and schools and stuff. But is there a God? If there is, strike me down. You're a bastard. There isn't a God. Yeah, it's funny. It was greatly, it's a UK programme called Shameless the other night. I don't know if anyone watches Shameless. Did? No? Yeah. Did you see it?
It's it there.
No. Frank Gallagher is one of the characters, right? He's right. He does everything wrong. It's totally selfish. This, that, the other. Don't care about the kids really. He only cares what people might think about him for not caring about the kids. So if something happens to them, it's more a case of what they're going to think, it's my fault. But then when he knows they're alright, he doesn't give a shit, he's straight back out to the pub. Don't really see it's relevant to what we're learning. And in this particular episode, it's a convoluted thing, but ultimately he ends up in a Jewish, not synagogue, well yeah, the synagogue's next to it, but their version of a preacher. Rabbi, that's it, in their house. And he's trying to preach the Lord to him and this, that, the other, going, you've been a bad man, Frank Gallagher, you've drunk and you've been bad with your kids and all this stuff. And I know because I was like you in earlier life and I got smited because my son got struck down in a car accident. So this guy obviously believed, or chose to believe, or rather, it was his fucking excuse, that the reason his son got killed in a car accident was because he'd been a drinker and ignored them. So he was getting smited by God and he'd not been going to the synagogue enough. So not only does he end up going to the synagogue more, but he also ends up going through it all, the process of ordination, whatever they call it, and ends up being a rabbi. So he's trying to save Frank Gallagher from the same thing. Frank Gallagher, when he's pissed upstairs, turns around and says to the rabbi, he says, at one point gets to the point of tears, going, my son's dead, at least I can help you, and this is obviously my mission, I've got to put things right for you. And he turns around and he goes quite rightly to the rabbi, he goes, so what you're saying to me is, if you do something bad, you get smited, that's why your son got killed in a car crash. And the rabbi's like crying this thing, yes, in a nutshell. Frank Gallagher, the comedy pissed-up character, who comes out with these words of wisdom and genius, goes, well, there's lots of fucking guess, he's being the pissed-up character, he goes, then what the fuck happened, or rather didn't happen, to Hitler's kids, Mussolini, and he comes out with this random list of people that are perceptively in history perceived as, rightly or wrongly, that's a totally different matter, rightly or wrongly, as cunts. And the rabbi, alright, yes, this is a television drama comedy, but suddenly goes, that's a fucking good point, actually. There's some logic in that. And it becomes a life-changing moment for the rabbi, who then basically sort of like goes off to the pub for a drink type thing. There's also, on that level, to make it more relevant to people anywhere in the world, there's a film you can get on DVD called Leap of Faith by Steve Martin. I may have mentioned it yesterday, but particularly for your benefit reason. If there's nothing else you do in life when you leave this course, before you decide either that I may be onto something, and then you decide and wrestle with yourself whether or not to take the time to look at the DVDs, I would urge you, and the people that haven't seen the film, I'd urge you to buy the film Leap of Faith. You can buy it online, with Steve Martin as the lead star, and it's about a fraudulent evangelical preacher. You know, praise the Lord, and healer, the one like your Billy Graham type, like your Benny Hinn types, like your Todd Bentley types. These are names you can type in YouTube to see them doing what is essentially stage hypnosis. Everything we said this morning, if you look at the clips of what they do in the context and the environment, the basic human emotional needs, that it's their fault they don't love God enough if this doesn't happen for them. It's all fucking sad. But this film says it and shows it far better than I ever could. Leap of Faith, Steve Martin. And he gets confronted by this police officer who clearly knows deep down it's bollocks. And goes, look, there's no one else around, I'm not wired up, just admit it, you're a fraud. And Steve Martin's character, what is it? Not Baptiste, yeah it is, it's something like Jonas, that's it, Jonas Baptiste. He turns around and goes, maybe I am, and maybe I'm not. But what's it matter, just so long as the job gets done?
I've seen it.
You've seen it? Yeah.
And he says funny words that he doesn't know the meaning of, but he just gave in the ministry when he talked to people. He said some. He just make some.
He makes up an absolute load of bollocks.
Yeah.
Perfect dogs walking through and starts going, bang, woo, 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 or whatever it is, right? But the people believe that this ritual, because of the environment, because of the presentation, because of the context, because of their preconceived, brainwashed, conditioned, environmental believe this to be what will work for them. So for many of them, it does work. And certainly I'd say for many of them it does work. But only really for the ones that had an issue that had been psychologically caused in the first place. If it was caused by emotion or psychology, it can be reversed in that manner, which was what the therapy day was about yesterday. But if it was a physical cause, or a physical malfunction, or a genetic disorder, fuck off. No amount of self-belief is going to change that. It's not going to make your leg longer. It's not suddenly going to make you walk. All that shit is fraud. That is the stooges in wheelchairs.
What makes you happy if you haven't got the leg?
It gives people hope.
Yes.
But the trouble is, hold brings back into, because this is relevant, it gives people hope. Yeah, that's good. Hope in life's good. But you know what? Realism with positivity is more important than hope. Because false hope of, oh no, I might walk one day for praising the Lord, especially in the context of the way they do this shit, in terms of what it means you don't believe enough, so you're giving more to the church, you saw what you received, and all this shit. Means that that's actually put deep down, making a person feel worse, because it's clearly something that they're doing wrong. They never blame God, just as when you set it up right, the hypnotist never gets blamed, because it's never the hypnotist's fault.
Grace becomes a great hypnotist. Pretty weird.
Yeah. And actually, if you look at the disc that I've given you, there's a book on there called The Hypnotist Bible by Delaware, who was one of my teachers, and the opening line is, God was the first hypnotist. He hypnotised Adam to feel no pain, to remove a little rib. It's a metaphor, but it makes a lot of sense when you look at it. Now, I don't want to get into religion or politics, but you know, politics is the same thing. Everything, you look at it deep down, religion, politics, the process of high pressure salespeople. It is all about selling the dream that people want. Or it is about selling an idea that people want. Or it is about selling an excuse or a motivation to be able to say, well, that's why I do things this way. Which goes back to the 7 basic human desires and triggers that we covered yesterday and I mentioned briefly earlier. That is why we can manipulate people in this context to do stuff. If you ask someone to do this shit without it being in the context of let me show you something funky, it's like a bit of a trick. So they think, oh, it's a trick, I'll go with it and relax. In which case they might go with it and go, oh, why won't my foot move? Or you do it in the context of, let's try the power of the mind, full stop. If you were just to literally go, hey mate, you're alright, I'm a plumber, what do you do? Come here, I'm a plumber, you know, like, there was no logical context set up of why you're doing whatever. And when what you thought there, look at it, it's like it's glued down, they'd be thinking, fuck off, you plumber. They would. Straight away they'd be thinking, what the hell is this plumber you get on about? Right? There'd be no context or acceptable logic or reason to it. And when you were trying lift before, they'd just be thinking, why is this guy gay? Why has he got his arm around me? Why is his arm on my shoulder? So that bit wouldn't work, they'd be more likely to do that. It wouldn't work as well. It is all about context and environment. So whether it's them asking you what to do for a living, you go, oh, you can tell the truth, you don't have to lie, you'll say, oh, I'm nothing design. Part-time hypnotists and help people change their lives. As long as they turn around and go, oh, we hypnotised me, that means they've accepted the idea that what you said was true. So they're going to accept that there's some reason or logic behind this ritual of getting them to look there, touch them on the shoulder and all this stuff. So they're not going to resist it as much as someone if you said you were a plumber. It's all about setting up the framework. That's why the pre-talk for a stage hypnotist is so important. In fact, it's probably more important than anything else. Now, for hypnotherapy, your equivalent to a pre-talk is your leaflet, your newspaper ad, your press release. It's the advertising that gets them to ring you up and want to book a session. That's done a lot of it for you. Your next level of that is the questionnaire. It's all on the DVDs. It's the questionnaire. That is doing, eliminating resistance and putting them in a frame of mind where this is more likely to work for them. With stage hypnosis, well, we can't give every audience member a bloody 4 or 5 page questionnaire to fill in. A, it would cost a lot in paper, it'd be a lot to transport, it'd take a lot of time, it'd be incredibly fucking boring. You're there to speed things up, so it's really going to manipulate things quicker. So I think the best way I can sort of demonstrate this is to imagine that it's the start of the show. You know, we'll walk off in a moment over here. I will get introduced onto the stage. You all will all go mad with applause as though it was a real event because you'll use your powers of mind effectively. On I will walk, and I will imagine there is loads of you in the audience, and I will do exactly what I will do at the start of the show. And then I will decipher, interpret, call it what you will, the language I've used and tell you what it is I've really said. And when you realise what I've really said to you, and what it really means, and what the average human being on this planet will interpret it at, without even realising it, just because of the conditioned response in life it's having, certain words, in certain contexts, elicit certain responses. The phrase, don't do that, immediately puts people's backs up as adults, because they're so fed up of hearing it as a kid. It's already in there. Certain phrases and words in certain contexts already have a lifetime conditioned response. Now, knowing that, you can use these phrases and words in certain contexts to elicit those emotional responses to place someone in a state of mind where you suddenly are definitely the parent, the teacher, the police officer, where they become submissive to you. Because that's what stage hypnosis is. So, some of it, especially if you were at the therapy bit yesterday, may click into place. So for everyone in the room, there'll be elements that do click into place, because I've said them numerous times this morning and given examples, both physically and verbally. But there'll be the odd nuance there that you may not have come across yet. But you're pre-taught by far. I'm not saying you have to word for word use what I'm about to say. It's the underlying psychological things that need to have been covered in pre-taught to have a seriously good chance of getting loads of volunteers on stage. Now you're thinking, yeah, I don't want to do stage hypnosis, I want to do therapy. What's the fucking point in doing this? Fair enough. The point is that if you're going to do group sessions, in fairness, group therapy sessions, the difference between one person sat in the chair and saying, Dave, close your eyes, and every now and again mentioning their name Dave and following the complete mind therapy structure that's on the DVDs, and having a room of 40 people, all of whom want to stop smoking. The only difference is that rather than going Dave, close your eyes, you go everyone in the room, just close your eyes. It just becomes, actually, less personal. Well, that's why in the marketing plan you charge them less for it. But they don't feel bad about that because they know deep down, well, if they weren't such a miserly cunt, they'd be paid for a one-to-one session. So it is relevant because you've got, as a group mentality is different than a one-to-one. One-to-one, it is just there. But alright, they're motivation. But one-to-one, stage hypnosis, or as it's known in England, street hypnosis. Because there tends to be two wannabe hypnotists on the street, the random passer-by, doing things and then basically, egotistically wanking each other off by going, now my turn, I'll make them do something. That's actually psychological rape in my world, but there you go. When there's not a big enough audience, it is psychological rape. What's the fucking benefit? But when there's an audience, and I'm not going to go into ethics and laws on stage hypnosis, the health and safety stuff, that which you need to know within law is on the disc you've got. I can tell you now that by law, if you were to be doing hypnosis in a pub, like I did some last night, to do it legally, you'd have to have the right insurance in place. I have. You'd have to also follow certain protocols, which are explained on the discs. I did. And you would also have to know certain things, which you will. If you choose to do this stuff, then it will mean enough to you that you will look at the DVDs. If it doesn't mean enough to you to look at the DVDs, then you shouldn't be fucking doing it in that social environment. Because you do have a duty of care in law, pretty much anywhere in the world, any developed country in the world, to look after the health and safety of the individual. Anyway, end of rant. The rants on the DVDs. The point is the psychology. So anyway, well, let's get back to the treatment. Right, I'm going off, I'm going to come on, it's a show, there's loads of people. So I need to get everyone in that state of mind. Now, you're going to have to imagine a bit here, use your imaginations. Because we haven't got a stage, but let's imagine there is. So immediately being elevated, even if it's only a British pub, or for that matter, some pubs, wine bars in Amsterdam that I worked in, the stage is only like that high off the floor. But it is psychologically, therefore, to the audience known as the stage area, the performance area. And that's the key, the psychology behind it. To them, that area means the person who gets on there is the performer. Especially if there's been posters for a show. Especially if they then see those posters and decided to come along and said, I'm coming to see a hypnotist. The moment they say they're coming to see a hypnotist, they're already brainwashing themselves into the idea that you fit this moment. And the cheesier and wankier and shitier and cliched your advertising is, the better. Because in the old films, it is all about look into my eyes, and they give this false impression of power. So rather than explaining it's not, fuck it. Tell people they're right, because then they feel good, but make them feel safe about volunteering. Yeah? Makes sense? So, a brief example, well, that's a very recent show that Stuart and did for Manchester Gay Pride. And how cheesy can you get? It looks like one person's got power over the other. It's just pure cheese. It's complete and utter cheese fest. But on the advertising, I mean, it's telling you, controversial international television hypnotist and mind magician Jonathan Royle, performing live on stage, using sex toys, dolls, and more outrageous props in this exclusive, shocking show, filmed live for television. Dirty Trancy tells them where it is. The camera says me I'm to send these out to everybody. There we go, you get the idea. Now honestly, look at that and tell me that when this person, the hypnotist in the red and blue suit, walks on stage and asks for volunteers, who in their right fucking mind volunteers when they've already been told that basically they're going to shack sex dolls, they're going to suck sex toys, and more outrageous things, and it's being filmed and we get out on TV as well. So everyone's going to know about it. Who in their right bloody mind would do that? The majority of the population who are attention-seeking fuckwits and want their 15 minutes of fame on TV. The same people that would want Big Brother. That's who. The same people who will audition for X Factor and know they can't fucking sing deep down. That's who. Or to put it another way, the vast majority of the general public. You funny. Does that make sense? I know it's a bit severe, my way of explaining it, but it is. Look at it. It's actually not rocket science. You've taught it, you know. As for film for TV bit, well, that's what I said that I'd be saying that it was short, that it was being filmed. It was only my camera, so it's going to be filmed. It may be used in a forthcoming television project. That's what I always say on one stage. Because then you do get it. I want the 15 minutes of fame shit. And that's... Pardon?
So I like the one,
which bit? Oh, yeah, well,
the
that's the
scientific research purposes only.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to go into the laws because they're on the disc, but yeah, there is a disclaimer on it. Volunteers must be aged 18 or over, agree to be filmed, participate at their own free will, and may leave the stage at any time during this demonstration of hypnotic style phenomena and trance illusion, which is presented strictly for scientific and research purposes only.
the word style, which you know.
Hypnotic style, I'm blatantly telling them there's no hypnosis. Trance, illusion. It looks like trance, it isn't. I'm actually being more honest than any hypnotist. I'm telling them it's bollocks. And on some more level, that makes people more relaxed. Yeah, that's a side tip for you. I shouldn't have let that one go. But there you go. The camera does turn them into responsive, especially if they think it's going to be on TV. It does, simple as. Otherwise there wouldn't be half these reality shows on TV, and it's not just in England, it's worldwide. People have those basic human needs, and that moment of fame gives it, and that is why this works. So that's one element of it. The fact they know what you look like when you walk on stage, they go, oh, it's the hypnotist. By saying, oh, it's the hypnotist, they're not sat there going, oh, it's that person we pay money to see who says they're the hypnotist. Because to do that, they'd have to say to themselves that I'm an idiot, I've spent money on something that's not real. Don't they? They've already brainwashed themselves by the time they get to the show. The conditioning process has already gone on. Every time they've looked in the wallet or on the mantelpiece to send the ticket to come to the show, it's like, oh yeah, hey, love, only 2 weeks to go, we're going to see the hypnotist. They're conditioning each other. Now it's just about finding people that are not too shy to take part. Although ironically, that's not so much an issue because some of the people who are normally shy have got the perfect excuse because they were made to do it. That's where your brain talk comes in. So I'm going on. On backstage, I'm having a drink. It's a bit normal, it lasts for a couple of hours, so I'm talking much yourself.
It's the only reason that's the vodka.
Yeah. And then I get introduced.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome live on stage the world's greatest hypnotist. He's the one, he's the only. Big hands together for Dr. Jonathan Royle.
Good evening, Doctor, and welcome to what's going to be for most of you here this evening, I'm sure, a truly interesting, informative and entertaining hour or so. Now the reason I say most of you is because obviously many of you here tonight will be hypnotised. And for those of you who are hypnotised, it will be a truly relaxing, enjoyable, if somewhat slightly unusual experience. Now although you'll hear me say the word sleep rather a lot tonight, none of you here will actually ever be asleep. Or at least I hope you won't, because if you're hypnotised, you'll be fully aware of everything that's going on around you at all times. It's just you'll have this overwhelming desire to do almost anything and everything I say. Now, the reason I say almost anything and everything I say is because it is impossible, and that's true despite what you may have read in the media recently, it is impossible to make anyone say or do anything that would totally contradict the morals or the values. So ideally what I'm looking for this evening are about a dozen people to fill these chairs who've got no morals and got no values, and I'm sure we can have a great show. No, seriously though, if you are thinking about volunteering this evening, there are a few things I need to run by you by law. A bit boring, I know, but sadly I have laws to abide by. Firstly, I'm not allowed to hypnotise anyone under the age of 18. This is a licensed premises, so I'm sure we won't have any problems there. Secondly, I'm not allowed to hypnotise anyone who's drunk. Have we got any drunks in tonight?
Yay!
Okay, start the count. The reason I'm not allowed to hypnotise anyone who's drunk is because anyone who's drunk already thinks they're fucking hypnotised. And thirdly, I'm not allowed to hypnotise any idiots. Have we got any idiots in the room tonight?
Yay!
Okay, this is going to be a long night. And finally, I'm not allowed to hypnotise anyone with any serious health complaint. For example, anyone who's asthmatic, epileptic, clinically depressed or pregnant. This is not anything to do with hypnosis. It's just if you're asthmatic and you start jumping around like Elvis Presley, you might have an attack. It's now to do with hypnosis. Pregnant women with one woman falling over. Hypnosis itself is entirely safe. But if we've got any women in the audience who are not pregnant, come see me after the show. I'm sure we can sort that. Anyway, seriously. I'm looking tonight for volunteers with good powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration. People who are up for a laugh with the idea of letting themselves go, relaxing and giving it a try. So So basically, in a nutshell, virtually everybody in this room can be hypnotised. Unfortunately, as I'm sure you'll appreciate, it's not always possible for me to hypnotise everyone that steps foot on stage at the start of the show, mainly because of the short time and space we've got available. Some people go as quickly as that. Other people can take an hour. And as I'm sure you appreciate, we're here to have a laugh, okay? So I may end up having to send some people back. It's no offence to you, that's just the nature of the bids that we're working in tonight. If you come up here with the idea of letting yourself go, relaxing, giving it a try, you take it seriously, you use your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively, as I'm sure you will, then you will find that you could be one of the stars of this evening's show, which I must tell you from a legal point of view is being filmed, for those people who've seen the cameras, so don't come up here going, I am on, because it is actually being filmed, okay, and some of that footage will indeed appear on the internet. I may well be taking some of it and being used in a forthcoming television programme. So be aware of that before you volunteer. You're also consenting to be potentially on television in the future and being the star down your local pub and all that kind of thing. I don't think there's anything else we really need to tell you. A lot of people do say to me, Jonathan, because that's my name, they say to me, Jonathan, when you hypnotise, what does it feel like? And, you know, I say, well, actually, it's a very relaxing experience, rather like having a drink of Moroccan Black, except on the bright side, you don't get the munchies. So there's a good reason for taking that. And in fact, a lot of women have said to me that when they were hypnotised, it was better than any orgasm they've ever had. To which I usually say, well, obviously you've never fucking slept with me then, have you? Well, that's an entirely different story. Basically, I'm looking for people tonight to fill these chairs. In a few moments' time when the music begins, we're all going to try an experiment. This is not hypnosis, I repeat. I'm not going to hypnotise you while you are in the audience. I'm not allowed to by law in England. Different in other countries. That's a side note because it's a side. But anyway, I'm not allowed to because there are laws against it. It's just an experiment to see which of you in this audience here tonight have got the best powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration. Which of you here tonight could fall into that really focused, taking it serious category where you could be one of the stars of tonight's show? So don't worry, it's not like doing your A-levels or anything like that. It's just a bit of a fun test. And it's all about the fact that people do ask, what is hypnosis? Now, some of it's verbal, some of it's physical, you see. Now, there's verbal suggestion, and to try and explain why that's so safe, okay? Let's take the word silk, which is S-I-L-K. Yeah? I'm going to put my hand out in front of me like that. When I do, I want you all to shout out the word silk. So, silk. Fantastic. Silk. Silk. And the quicker I do it, the more quicker you've got to do it, obviously. Silk. 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 Yeah. Because I'm going to start doing that. When I do, I'm suddenly going to ask you all a question. I'll shout it out loud. That very moment, that very second, that very instant that I ask you that question, I want you to shout out the first thing that comes into your head. Okay? Let's go for it. So. What's count 3? You got it right? No. It's actually water.
I don't have a question.
Fantastic. Brilliant. The voice of the lark, yeah? The lark. He can't help it, he wasn't listening, but that's what happens when you're circumcised as a baby. Unfortunately, they threw the wrong fucking piece of everything. Mind you, it's no skin off my nose. But anyway, sometimes words can have effects on things, sometimes physical things. So take your right arms. I'll give you a clue, it's this one on this side, okay? Make a fist, but please don't hit anyone. Then make a gun, okay? And then make a circle. And I want you to do what I say and not what I do, okay? What I say, not what I do. So look directly at me and on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, just touch it to you. Chin like that, right now. No, your chin's down here. Sometimes we can get misled by physical suggestions. suggestion as well. That's an example of that. But as you see, it is completely safe. It's just a bit of a laugh. That's all tonight is about. Finding some people to be the stars of the show. So before we can do that, we need to do a little experiment with everyone. So if you'd like to put down your drinks, your handbags, your purses, and anything else you've got in your hands at 25 to 4 on a Sunday afternoon. And if the women could do the same, that would be a great start. Fantastic. Move around, tell people what's coming. Okay, what I'd like each and every one of you to do is put your hands out in front of you like so. Then you want your fingers, so the fingers of the left hand are against the back of the right hand, the fingers of the right hand against the back of the left hand. Palms pressed tightly together, thumbs down on top, and just start to squeeze your hands together, just as tightly as you possibly can. Now bearing in mind that I've got the microphone between the hands and on here, but what I would say is then each and every one of you just push your hands above your head like so. And stare directly up at the back of your hands, so you're staring at your knuckles, okay? As you keep pushing your hands high towards the sky, towards the rainbow. I'm going to count backwards rapidly from 10 down to 1. This is not hypnosis, it's just an experiment to see which of you have got the best powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration to be one of the stars of this evening's show. Which of you are going to take this seriously? Which of you can follow simple instructions? Right here, right now. So just stare at the back of your hands and pushing them high towards the sky, towards the rainbow on 10, 9 and 8. It's almost as if the world's strongest superglue is taking the fingers of the left hand to the back of the right hand and the fingers of the right hand to the back of the left hand. As on 7 and 6, it's almost as if every nerve, fibre, tissue and muscle, from the wrist to the elbows to the shoulders, is stuck fast tight, making it impossible to separate your hands. If you use, as I'm sure you will, your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration so effectively. Just prove to yourself you can do that. I keep pushing high towards the sky, towards the rainbow. As on 5 and 4, with every breath that you take, every noise that you hear, every word that I say, and every thought that you think, it's merely a sign and a signal for your hands to become more bonded, locked, glued, welded, cemented, fixed in place in a way that feels right for you. As on 3, using your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration so effectively right now as you believe in the world's strongest superglue. Sticking your hands together. This is almost as though someone has encased your hands in a block of concrete, making it impossible to separate them. As on the count of 2, keep pushing high towards the sky, towards the rainbow, as though you're reaching for your dreams. And as 1, keep believing in the world's strongest superglue. Keep believing your powers of mind so effectively. Keep believing in everything as reality. Keep pushing high towards the sky, towards the rainbow, and as you do, just prove to yourself you've done it correctly. Keep pushing high towards the sky, towards the rainbow, but just try to separate it out. Keep pushing high towards the sky, towards the rainbow, but the more you try, the more it will stick. You may actually laugh slightly because this shouldn't work after this morning. So now, the more you try, the more they stick. Pushing high, the more you try, the more they stick, getting tighter and stiffer, until the moment I tap my foot on the floor, then they will all spring apart. 1, 2, 3, now! Separate out. Give yourselves a round of applause, it brings the blood back into circulation. It also makes me feel better. Seriously, give me a wiggle. Fantastic. So I'm looking for some volunteers. Along with one, we've got 12 chairs here on stage. It doesn't mean I only want 12 volunteers. Because in an ideal world, I'd like to hypnotise each and every one of you in this room. Go to the bar, get pissed, come back in an hour and a half and tell me you enjoyed the wonderful show. Unfortunately, that's just not possible because, as I said before, some people just don't concentrate from it. And the truth is, if you come up here with the state of mind of you're not hypnotising me, what you'll be doing is you'll be wasting my fucking time, your time, and everyone else's time. Because we're all here tonight to have a laugh, aren't we? Yay! So I won't be looking for volunteers when the music begins. I need you to make your way. All you do is you move your legs, you've got your follow, make your way towards the stage, and fill up one of these chairs. Right now, we haven't got the music, but just imagine there is. I seriously do mean at least 2 people to come and fill these chairs. Give them a round of applause to make way towards the stage. The more volunteers we get, the longer and better this evening's show will be. We truly do need another volunteer. Give them a round of applause to make way towards the stage. Obviously, side note, away from reenactment role play, obviously this is totally artificial environment. but we're going to do it as closely as we can, given that we don't have the stage, the lights, the huge audience, the advertising, and you all are here to learn stuff and already know stuff. But you'll get the idea when I explain it after, okay? So, back into the role. Yes! Our volunteers, the people who are brave enough to volunteer. Generally, you'd have more than that, but generally there's more people in the room, obviously. So, back into the role. Acting's living. Fantastic, we've got some perfect strangers on stage here tonight. Well, not necessarily perfect, but they certainly look very strange to me. Actually, on a serious note, you have actually got the best seats in the house, and very soon we're going to prove to everyone in this audience that your imaginations can put the headline writers of the Sunday Sport to fucking shame. Because hopefully if you use your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively, then you could be one of the stars of this evening show, but you will not realise, probably, when you're doing the stuff, exactly what's going on and appreciate it fully. So, before we hypnotise these volunteers, can we have another huge round of applause, because basically they're going to be entertainment. Tremendous. And obviously there'll be more, so you're moving them around differently. I can only do this with 2. We'll have to look at video footage on the internet that I've got to see how it works with 12, 18, 20 people. Okay? Back into roll. Because remember, don't go away and say these bits advert. If you do the audience, I wonder what you're on about, and watch the bits on So we're back in roll again. Fantastic. What I do, we're sitting firmly on the floor. By a show of head nods or hands in the air, up to you. Of the people we've got on stage, you put your hand in the air. Honestly, if you found that you could not separate your hands a few moments ago. Fantastic. By a show of hands, is there anyone on the stage that has been hypnotised before? Arguably yes, but arguably no, because it's a weird training seminar. If it was a show normally prior to this weekend, your answer would have been yes, wouldn't it? Fantastic. And can I just check that all of you are over the age of 18 and you've not got any of those medical complaints that we spoke about before? Is that correct if it is? Yeah, show me. So that's fine, fantastic. And finally, just because it's the last time we're going to ask you, you're aware this is being filmed, it may end up on the internet, on television, and you may, well, end up doing some really funky things tonight being the start of the show. So do I have your consent for you to volunteer tonight? You've not been coerced into this, have you? Got your consent? Brilliant! In which case, what I'd like you to do is stand up exactly where you are in front of your chairs. Feet together. Hands by your side. And just tell everyone here tonight what's your name?
Brenda.
Brenda. Fantastic, Brenda. You know what's fucking fantastic? There's no microphone! Suggestion. Just a side note, but it relates to what we've been working on later. You go on. What's your name? Paul. Not into the mic. Paul. There's no fucking mic! I just told you! It does, however, as much as I'm being playful, illustrate the inbuilt human responses that we have, okay? The fact that it is about politeness, we expect to talk about, you know what, it's not there, but you still can't stop yourself fucking doing it.
It's for the camera.
Yeah, for the camera, obviously, only for the camera. But you get the idea, you know, this really does show what I'm saying. It's why it works. Anyway, back into roll. We're not going to train this seminar, this is a show. Okay, fantastic. Feet together, hands by your side. I'm only talking to you directly, all dozen of you on stage. If I should tap you on the shoulder, otherwise I'm talking to people individually. At this point, as the music begins, at this point I tend to have some relaxation type, arty-farty, winky-wanky, stereotypical, what they expect to be. Right, some sleep, shitty music. Or if it's a nightclub where they want it a bit funky, or I'll have something like Blade Runner where it goes really loud and dramatic, bang, 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 it's like off the head and then we'll start throwing people around. The psychology is the same. It's about there being a ritual and a reason behind everything. So I'd like you to stare directly at a point on the ceiling or a spotlight up there, or a fluorescent light, probably about time that will make a benefit. So stare directly at one of those lights and I'm talking to you directly if I should actually tap you on the shoulder or indicate otherwise. Otherwise, the sound of my voice will merely serve as a sign and a signal. A sign and a signal to help you relax more completely with every second that passes by. This is absolutely fantastic. Now, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, it's the point where, please, can we have your silence for the next 2 minutes, which is slightly more entertaining when there is the background music from the PA system, which I haven't got, so you'll have to just pretend that there is. Because it would visually, to the music that sets the theatre a bit all, and the lighting having changed slightly, which is giving it a theatrical appearance to the audience and also a sense of ritual and importance to the people on stage, would look something along the lines of, ladies and gentlemen, the power of hypnosis. I'm talking to everybody on the stage, keeping your eyes tightly closed at all times unless I say otherwise. Keeping your eyes tightly closed at all times unless I say otherwise. You realise that from this moment forward, because we come to the real deep hypnosis in a few moments' time, but for now, keeping your eyes tightly closed at all times unless I say otherwise. You'll find that the sound of my voice, every breath you take, every noise you hear, every word I say, every thought you think, merely serves as a sign and a signal to help you relax more completely in every nerve, fiber, tissue, muscle in your body, from the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers. Because in a few moments' time, I'm going to come along and lift up your right arm. When I do, it won't bother you, worry, or concern. Your eyes remain closed at all times. We get to the real deep, relaxing hypnosis shortly, but for now, drifting down, sinking down deeper, 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 deeper you go, the better you feel. Like you're getting tight close, deeper you go, the better you go. Deeper, shit, all nice one. And you're remaining tight closed at all times. Ladies and gentlemen, there's different states of hypnosis. We're going to get to the hypnosis element in a few moments' time. But there's different states of it. There's a light to medium state, there's one hell of a fucking state. And there really are. People react in different ways to different things, which keep your eyes tightly closed. Realising that now is the time you should concentrate on these things with your eyes closed and use your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration so effectively, as I'm sure you will, that this will help you relax more over the next few minutes so you can enter that level of deep hypnosis. Yes, that is coming up for you in a few moments' time, a real deep, deep level. But now, just to exercise your unconscious mind, just to exercise it, just keep your eyes tightly closed, just imagine in your mind's eye. That's fantastic. Keep moving them like rhythmic and fantastic. Now this is normally the Hypnotists. They do this, keeping their eyes closed, at the music starts, and obviously you're playing that piano. Imagine in your mind how you're playing the piano, and you want to play it faster as the music plays, you're playing the piano faster and faster and faster, but you realise now actually it's the world's tallest piano, so you've got to reach up high into the air, because it's the world's tallest piano, you've got to reach up high into the air. In fact, it's the world's shortest piano, you've got to reach down lower and lower and lower and lower and lower, and just relax, sleep, hydrate, sleep, sleep in that position, sleep, hydrate, tight closed at all times, unless I say, all right, ladies and gentlemen, each time this evening that these wonderful volunteers use their powers of their unconscious mind to do these wonderful things, we'd like to hear you when we say sleep and put them back. Give them a huge round of applause for the relaxed more. And for the rest of this evening, whenever you hear the audience clap like this, it just helps you relax more. And whenever you hear the audience laugh like this, ha ha ha, they're not laughing at you, they're laughing with you because you can be one of the stars of this evening's show. I'm only talking to you directly if I should tap you on the shoulder. I'm talking to you, eyes remaining tightly closed. In a few moments' time, I'm going to give you an invisible pair of some contact lenses even. When I give you these invisible contact lenses and you place them into your own eyes, Does seem very real to you indeed, even though you know they're just invisible. But the strange thing about them is you can see every member of the opposite sex start bolt naked, and you'll find it really pleasurable and enjoyable indeed. Fantastic, after any clothes. Only talking to you directly if I should touch you on the shoulder. In a few moments' time, when you get given the invisible contact lenses, the gentleman to the left of you is stride out, you'll actually find it rather strange that you can't see people in the nude, and you find it rather amusing because to you everyone looks really ridiculous and it's quite laughable. Nod your heads if you understand. Fantastic. 1, 2, 3. You're wide awake, wake up your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time this evening, a round of applause while the rides are open from the stars. Okay, now there's a new thing being invented in Hong Kong. I actually brought some back with me. I've lost them. They're here somewhere. I think it was right the first time. Yeah, there they are. Visible contact lenses. I got myself a pair. Sure. Nice one. Good evening, ladies, and just give you one of them. Just pop that into your eye, whichever one. And one there. Pop that into your eye. Fantastic. Just stand up, walk this way a second. Let's have a little look at the ladies. There's a few in the house. There's actually only one here tonight, but now we'll look. Now, marks out 10 for presentation. 12. True. Hey! Give her a round of applause. 12. Pretty good, eh? Yeah, I'll tell you what, just take a seat. I'll come back to you in a minute. We've milked that mob. There's only one female in here, so we can't really do much with it. Other than this, sleep. Fantastic. In a few moments' time, when you awaken, you'll realise the contact lenses are malfunctioned and it's actually all the men you can see start bolt naked, and you find it actually quite disgusting. You'll tell them to cover up. 1, 2, 3, you're wide awake. Have a look at the ladies What's up? You are all the fellas are all fucking me. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Cover up, guys. Can you cover up? Can you cover up? Yeah, and tell you what, pop those. Get them out, get the contact lenses out, because that would, obviously there's something maybe going wrong with them. Let's get rid of them. Let's find a set that are obviously, are they working? Let's see, I don't know. Just pop that in your eye, that's fantastic. Pop that in your eye, that's brilliant, yeah, fantastic. Let's have a little bit of a look around. Notice anything unusual? No, nothing else really fancy. Oh, it's a bit funny. Yeah, that's a bit strange, really. I know it's weird. Come out dressed like that during the wedding. Sleep. Hydrating. Sleep. Deeper. Hydrating. Time to close off that. Give me a round of applause. Pushing down. The deeper you go, the better you feel. The deeper you go with every breath you take. Every nod you hear, every word I say, every thought you think, sign of a signal. Without fantastically using your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively. Because we're not actually doing a normal show, and on some level in your conscious mind you are aware of that. Because of that, we're only going to do one more thing, and that is that I'm talking to both of you, keeping your eyes tightly closed just for now. As you relax more, you realise in a few moments' time, when and only when I say the phrase, thank you, good night. The very moment, the very second, the very instant I said the phrase, thank you, good night. That moment, that second, that instant, you'll instantly have an overwhelming desire to jump out of your chair in the audience, almost as if you received an electric shock or a prick up the bum. But the moment you have done you with your normal self in every way, you'll just wonder what the hell has been going on, and obviously you'll make sure that everyone buys your drinks in the bar afterwards as you relax more. Fantastic. But for now, I'm going to count from 1 to 5. On the count of 5, and only on the count of 5, you can open your eyes, you'll be your normal self in everywhere. Everything I've said will be completely cancelled out, except for this one very real fact. Imagine so when I say, thank you and good night, that moment, that second, that instant, you'll instantly, when you're sat in the audience, feel as though you've got a slight electric shock, slightly burn your chair, a slight pin prick in the bum, you want to jump up, and then the moment you have, you'll just wonder what the hell you've been doing, and you'll be completely normally, your normal self in every way, and every member of this audience here tonight will give you a huge round of applause for being the stars of this evening's show. So on 1, everything I've said completely cancelled out except for that last suggestion that I gave to both of you. 2, lighter and brighter. 3, it's almost as if every nerve, fibre, tissue and muscle in your body, from the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers, is being washed with pure spring water. Revitalise, re-energise. 4, it's almost as if all the stresses, tensions, worries, fears and apprehensions of days, weeks, months and years gone by are leaving your mind and leaving your body right now. And on 5, ladies and gentlemen, wakey, wakey, rise and shine as these 2 gentlemen make their way back to the audience. Give them a deep round of applause because they're happy, the stars of this evening's show. Ladies and gentlemen, every hypnosis show you go to see is different because different people react in different ways. Some people do go as quickly as that, some take ages, that's why sometimes we have to get rid of people. So please, as you've seen, it is safe, it's just a fun form of entertainment, it's exploiting your imagination and having fun. So please do, next time you see a hypnotist, go along and volunteer. For those of you who enjoyed the show this evening, my name is Jonathan Roy. For those of you who haven't, my name's Paul McCann. Thank you and good night! And on that exact note, we'll have a 10-minute break. Back in here for 4:05, please, and I'll tell you what the fuck just went on. It's deeper than those guys even think.
You know, but we were talking about various things about the laws of hypnosis.
Yeah.